So, Barca's out of the Champions League, and it really felt like it ended too soon, right? A season of what ifs and so close moments. But what if the numbers told a different story? A much clearer, more dramatic one. In this breakdown, we're going to peel back the layers and look at the hidden story the stats are telling us.
That final whistle against Atletico Madrid, man, it left a really bitter taste, didn't it? Everyone felt that Barca was the better side. But just like this quote says, in the Champions League, it's all about efficiency. And that feeling, that frustration, is actually the perfect place for us to start digging into what really went down.
So, what are we actually digging into here? Well, it's a story that unfolds across 12 massive games. Every single minute, from the very first group stage match to that final knockout blow, it all matters. It all paints the picture we're about to see.
All right, here's the game plan. First, we're going to look at the big picture, the end result. Then we'll dive into the good stuff, the incredible highs of their attack. After that, we got to face the music and talk about their biggest weakness. Then we'll celebrate the players who really shone, and we'll wrap it all up by looking ahead. Sound good? Let's do it!
Okay, first up, the end of the road. Let's just start with the bottom line. After 12 hard-fought games, what did the final record actually look like? So, here's the final scorecard. 7 wins, 2 draws, and 3 defeats. You know, on paper, that looks pretty solid. It shows this team can hang with the best. But in a tournament this ruthless, it's those handful of losses that make all the difference. And ultimately, that's where the dream died. All right, let's pivot to the good news. The really good news. Because while the end result was a letdown, there was one area where this Barca team was absolutely world-class. Their offense. 32 goals. I mean, just take a second to let that number sink in. That's an average of almost 2.7 goals every single time they stepped on the field. This wasn't just a good attack. It was one of the most electric and dangerous in the entire competition. And you know what made this attack so special? They could score from literally anywhere. They weren't a one-trick pony. Just look at the breakdown. Almost perfectly balanced between right foot and left foot finishes. Plus, they were a real threat in the air. That kind of variety is an absolute nightmare for any defense. But, and this is a big but, here comes the twist in the tale. For all that attacking brilliance, there was this massive, glaring weakness that just kept pulling them back. It's time we talked about the defense. 20 goals conceded, an average of 1.67 per game. That number is pretty much the polar opposite of their attack, isn't it? It basically meant that no matter how many goals they scored, they were constantly in a shootout, always trying to outscore their own defensive mistakes. And that is just not a sustainable way to win in the knockout rounds. And that leads us to this. This right here might be the single most telling number of their entire campaign, a number that explains so much about their biggest problem: 0. In 12 matches, Barcelona did not keep a single clean sheet. Not one. You just can't win the Champions League if you can't shut a team out. Period.
And you know what made that shaky defense even worse? Discipline issues. 24 yellows and 3 red cards. 2 of those reds came in that must-win quarterfinal against Atletico. Moments like that just put an already fragile defense under impossible pressure.
Okay, so the team had its issues, for sure. But this campaign was also lit up by some absolutely incredible individual performances. We have to talk about the players who really stole the show. And just look who was leading the way. It wasn't the old guard, it was the kids. Lamine Yamal and Fermin Lopez, both right at the top of the charts with 6 goals apiece. They weren't just chipping in. This young core was the engine of the entire attack. And we just have to take a moment to talk about Lamine Yamal. Seriously. The kid wasn't just playing, he was running the show. He was the most used player, the joint top scorer, he added 4 assists, and with all that, he became the youngest player in Champions League history to hit double digits for goal involvements in one season. I mean, wow, just phenomenal. And all of this, all these young players stepping up in huge moments, it leads us to our final and maybe the most exciting point. This campaign might not have been just a story about this season, but a little sneak peek of a potentially incredible future. Think about it. A do-or-die second leg against Atletico. The pressure is immense. And what does Barca do?
They field the youngest starting 11 in their entire Champions League knockout history. The whole lineup was just packed with talent in their early 20s, and it was all led by an 18-year-old. The average age of that lineup on that massive night, just under 25 years old. That is insane. This wasn't a team leaning on experience. It was a team putting its full trust in the next generation, right here, right now. And get this, that average age could have been even younger. Their 19-year-old star defender Pau Cubarsí was actually suspended for that game. So the commitment to this youth movement runs even deeper than the numbers show.
So when you put it all together, what are we left with? Yes, this Champions League run ended in frustration. But with an attack that explosive and a core of unbelievable young talent coming through, you really have to ask yourself, was this the end of the road? Or was it just the beginning of Barcelona's next great era?